Welcome to Audio Up, a world of infinite audio-based entertainment. At Audio Up, we're building an ecosystem of IP where every single song, podcast, and audio marketing asset becomes much, much more. Audio is one of the fastest growing parts of the media space, and through this unique idea, it can flywheel out to different verticals, such as podcasts, albums, books, tours, film, and television, which allows for an extremely disruptive and evolved monetization model. Before I tell you about my new business, let me tell you a little bit about who I am and what I've done in the past. Hi, my name's Jingle Jared. In 2008, I created Jinglepunks, and in turn, I invented something now generally referred to as hyperpublishing. I made a lot of money putting music in other people's content, including TV shows like The Voice, American Pickers, Pawn Stars, Real Housewives of Atlanta, and countless shows about pregnant teenagers for MTV. Around this time, there was a divide between the amount of content being created and the amount of serviceable music for the content. In 2008, my business plan ended up being a simple explainer video, and this is how I'm going to present my new idea, Audio Up content, to you. My role as a super collaborator bridges me into many parts of the music, entertainment, brand, and digital realm. Working alongside Oscar, Grammy, and Emmy winners is my ecosystem to create with. My entrepreneurial spark originally started with the Jingle Player, which I invented, patented, and ultimately sold 2 times, in 2013 to WME Silver Lake, and in 2015, only 2 short years later, to the Ontario Teachers' Pension Fund. At the time of my earnout and departure, I left Jinglepunks as one of the largest providers of music across the media space. At heart, I'm a brand builder. I am able to take something fairly flat and turn it into something multidimensional. And yes, I'm an inventor too, and a patent holder. Some say I'm the Ron Popeil meets Thomas Edison of my generation. At least that's how my parents describe me, but I digress. Along the way, I've won 20+ ASCAP awards, 3 Cannes Lions for my brand work, been nominated for 2 Emmy Awards, and was recently named the Chief Collaboration Officer at the Tisch School of the Arts, NYU's Clive Davis School, in conjunction with the gaming and interactive departments. Oh, and by the way, did I mention I once did a TED Talk about Weird Al Yankovic? My super skill has always been the ability to see around the corner and disrupt various media spaces. I've made a career of utilizing my mix of creativity, deal-making, and entrepreneurial savvy, and this is what I hope to do with the world of premium audio entertainment and podcasts within Audio Up. The podcast space is a hot space at the moment, some would even say a buzzword in Hollywood. Here's some history though, it's not a new medium, but it's catching fire right now. Just like TV has been moving away from offline to online, the same thing is happening with radio. Daniel Ek of Spotify recently said that when you look at the amount of time that people consume audio, it's about the same in the US as people spend time watching video. That's a pretty amazing fact. Competition is reaching a fever pitch as Apple, Amazon, Google, iHeart, and Spotify have all been investing in the podcast space. And in fact, Spotify alone has spent $400 million to acquire production and technology capabilities this year alone. This is a market looking to be disrupted. Currently, there are a lot of 2 microphones plus a host model in play. We also see an over-indexing of true crime, history, news, and politics. I asked myself why music was not playing a larger role in the realm of podcasting, an inherently audio format. Turns out it's easier said than done, and there's a massive gap in play. Podcast budgets cannot compete with film or TV music licensing budgets. Essentially, there's an incompatibility issue. But because I can generate my own music IP, I have leapfrogged a major hurdle and found a way to piggyback bigger ideas into a development cycle which creates formats, marketing assets, and albums of the future. Here's how I got into the space. I generated an album called Bear and a Banjo, which I intended to position as a traditional record release. After having it rejected by all the major labels, indie labels, and distributors, a funny thing happened. iHeartRadio bought a large podcast network. I quickly created log lines around all the songs from my project and brought it to the podcast network. At the same time, I attached Dennis Quaid to be the main anchor of talent. And voila, we were in the podcast business, but it turned out to be much, much more. The podcast became the first scripted musical in the space, ushering in a new world of premium audio to the world of podcasting. In the months that followed, we monetized the album and songs as an entertainment product, which we were paid to make by iHeart and sponsored through additional brand dollars. A light bulb moment occurred when I realized we could pre-sell the inventory ahead of making the product simply by getting a brand on board. Brands like the music space. Popular song licensing is another major hurdle for brands and the audio realm writ large. This model, and in turn the podcast, became an elevated ad product. Brands want to own music with the quality of top 40 charters. Luckily, my partner from Bear and a Banjo is Pooh Bear, one of the biggest pop writers of all time. You know his Justin Bieber hits and his worldwide smash, Desposito. Oh, and my resume ain't too shabby either. I've penned songs for artists such as Steven Tyler, Lil Wayne, Chris Christopherson, Brad Paisley, Dierks Bentley, and countless others across the entire genre spectrum. Music is powerful and helped tip this initial idea into the net in a significant way. Utilizing our ability to play the music live, Pooh Bear and I performed the songs at South by Southwest as our Bear and Banjo characters, an idea we would use time and time again with other musical properties to get brands on board. Immediately following the performance, One Medical stopped us and bought the podcast ad inventory on the spot. This alone generated 7 figures of additional revenue, which beats out the CPM model, which is a launch and praise strategy at best. With all this excitement around it, I then circled back around to where I was at the beginning and licensed the album to one of the large record distributors for 6 figures. The revenue story was only just beginning, and it would form the foundation of this Audio Up concept. With a podcast and brand spend in play, the revised thinking around the record was that with iHeart exposing the music to 150 million plus listeners via their radio platform, there would now be a demand for the music, and it turns out this was true. Keep in mind, tens of thousands of various podcasts publish every month. This space is getting crowded, and quickly. Through my alchemy of awareness, I was able to ensure that for the run of the series, it was listed as new and noteworthy and featured in the Apple Carousel. This was a combination of penetrating through the marketing spend, an awareness campaign, the uniqueness of the product, and the disruptive nature of how we market it.
You also have a podcast out called Bear and Banjo.
2 years ago, I'd never even heard of podcast. And then all of a sudden, I'm in one and producing one, and they're really a lot of fun to do.
It's a mix of things that you love, storytelling and music.
Audio Up. 2019 was just the tip of the iceberg, and our year ended with a bang. Our project was so successful that we not only made headlines about the creative process, but also about how it was a major sea change for the industry of streaming, music, and podcasting writ large. We even made Variety's list of the best podcasts for 2019. We also got Bob Dylan himself to mention this across his social media. How cool is that? Our first-of-its-kind strategy would be to release new music the day after new episodes aired, and we did this on a weekly basis. The headlines alone got a lot of attention across the entire podcast realm. It's no secret that iHeart is one of the many movers into podcasts. Spotify, Stitcher, Audible, Sony, Endeavor Audio, and countless other platforms and creators are popping up, and buyers range from studios to brands. Now is the time to create as much stuff as possible. Here's a few catchy log lines to get the party started. Hillbilly Hall of Fame, AGT for the Red States, hosted by Billy Ray Cyrus. Totally Hammered, the legend of Uncle Drank. The story of a completely fictional country artist who invented bro country and who's been on spring break for over 20 years, brought to life through original music and some of Uncle Drank's real best friends. Sadland, the first ever sitcom for the podcast space, a sit-pod taped in front of a live audience in sunny Burbank, California, starring comedian and TV icon Bob Saget as Diddy Dave. He's hoping to one day surpass his father as the next great jingle man of his time, if his sister doesn't ruin it all for him by beating him to the punch. He's got amazing ideas, but not a clue. One part Lonely Island, one part WKRP in Cincinnati. Fake agency, real clients. Ecosystem is the first ever hip-hop musical written for the podcast space, featuring original music by a who's who of the biggest names in hip-hop, including Lil Wayne, Slim Jimmy of Ray Shremmerd, Ty Dolla $ign, and super producer Mike Dean. This tale takes you inside the mind of what it's like to be a hip-hop superstar, from the highest highs to the lowest lows. Hip-hop will never be the same after this epic long-form mixtape, a concept album for the podcast generation. And there's also medium-tier podcasts and quick-churn ones which could fill Audio Up all the way up in 2020. There are no breakout stars in this nascent medium. We hope to set up a premium entertainment ecosystem with music and audio as the new form of IP. I want to create a Marvel superhero-like universe of musicals where the records themselves become the story foundation. Music can become the jump-off point for all the amazing ancillary and derivative components attributed to the world of Audio Up. In this new world, the next A Star Is Born, La La Land, and Bohemian Rhapsody will not start with the script. They will start with the music as a publishing asset. much like comic books became the bedrock for Marvel and DC in their quest to create tentpole entertainment for major studios. Audio Up podcasts flywheel to all forms of verticals. Bear and a Banjo has a book deal, tour strategy, AV content, as does the follow-up property Make It Up As We Go, the first ever country musical situated in the writers' rooms of Nashville, which was set up simultaneously as a podcast and within Sony Pictures with a TV First Look deal. Plus, we sold the soundtrack to this as well. We're just getting started. Audio Up also envisions simple podcasts, ones that do not require scripts and original music. These ideas include wide-ranging talent such as LL Cool J, Lil Wayne, Dennis Quaid, Bobby Bones, David Spade, Paul Schaefer, Rosanna Arquette, FaZe Clan, and social media companies like Daquan. Okay, at this point, you're probably all scratching your head saying, wow, that's a lot of information. You're probably asking yourself, is this a content and podcast company? Is this an advertising and marketing model? Or is this a publishing and masters business? In fact, it's all three, and you can swap any of these categories in front of one another depending who the buyer is. This array of ideas working in concert and harmony with one another separates this idea from the pack. At Jingle Punks, I created a 9-figure publishing business using other people's content. By my math, owning the content would be better value and achieve scale through various products, big and small. Having many ideas compete in the marketplace, allowing for some to boom and some to bust, is a great high-volume way to build value within the ever-evolving content universe. We are bringing audio blockbusters to life with Audio Up and bringing this media from black and white into Technicolor. Welcome to Podcasting 2.0. To paraphrase Yogi Berra, you've got to be careful if you don't know where you're going, because you might not get there. The medium has finally arrived, and Audio Up is driving it where it can go. Welcome to the world of Audio Up.